From Buffalo Toronto Public Media, this is What's Next. In 1967, Geraldine Pointer and Martin Sostre were arrested after being accused of selling drugs and weapons out of the bookstore they operated on Jefferson Avenue. 57 years later, there is still an ongoing movement to exonerate the two of the charges, which the Justice for Geraldine and Martin Campaign claims were fabricated to scapegoat the two for the 1967 Buffalo Civil Rights Riot. On today's show, we welcome Geraldine Pointer herself, her son Terrance Pointer, and James Coughlin, the lead organizer of the Justice for Geraldine and Martin Campaign. The three sit down with Jillian Hanesworth to discuss the historical context of the controversial arrest, including Buffalo's history of segregation and the then ongoing Black Power movement. All this and more on this episode of What's Next. But first, here's the news.
This is Buffalo Toronto Public Media, NPR. Flags will be flown at half-staff today at state facilities in honor of Congressman John LaFalce, who died at the age of 85. LaFalce was first elected to the state Senate in 1971 before moving on to the state assembly 2 years later. He won his first election to Congress in 1975, where he would serve through 2003. In a statement, Governor Kathy Hochul said LaFalce, quote, worked tirelessly to bring transformative projects to the region. She also credited him for hiring her as a legislative counsel and putting her on a path to public service. Senator Chuck Schumer called LaFalce, quote, a legislative giant and dear friend. A $1 million state grant for the renovation of a South Buffalo institution is now part of the growing animosity in the race for mayor. On Saturday, State Senator Sean Ryan announced a $1 million capital grant had been secured to help with the renovation of the Buffalo Irish Center. WGRZ reports Ryan dismissed speculation the funding was a political ploy to improve his prospects in the heated battle to become Buffalo's next mayor, saying he had been working for 3 years on the funding project. That was disputed by acting mayor Chris Scanlon, who pointed out the Irish Center's location is, quote-unquote, well outside Ryan's Senate district. With construction progressing, it appears some residents may be moving into the Commodore Perry apartments by the end of the year. That's according to Will DeVella of Penrose Group, the developer that has been working on the project for the Buffalo Municipal Housing Authority.
We're excited to build something special for the people who live there, and there are many people who live there in not so great conditions, and we're excited to build new, healthy, high-quality housing for those people, but to bring other people a mix of incomes to this community.
The entire project is expected to take another 2 years before completion. An afternoon event today will focus on the stark reality of Black maternal health. Black women are approximately 3 times more likely to die from pregnancy-related causes than white women. Hosted by the Family Justice Center, the 3 p.m. event will highlight the connection between domestic violence and poor maternal health. Speakers addressing the gathering include Erie County Health Commissioner Dr. Gail Burstein and Lou Ann Brown of the Buffalo Prenatal Perinatal Network. Crews are expected to conduct a gradual removal of the Lake Erie Niagara River ice boom. According to a release from the International Niagara Board of Control, analysis of satellite imagery showed less than 250 square miles of ice covering the eastern basin of Lake Erie. While that level is typically considered low enough to begin the removal of the boom, officials say the wire rope structure remains encased in heavy ice, prompting crews to gradually open the span. The latest ice boom opening took place on May 3rd, 1971. And the price of gas is continuing its roller coaster ride. According to AAA, the national average price went up 8 cents in the last week to $3.18. In Buffalo, the average is $3.06. That's down 1 cent from last week.
From Buffalo Toronto Public Media, this is What's Next. An hour dedicated to amplifying the voices of marginalized and underrepresented communities across Western New York and Southern Ontario.
We cannot erase, we cannot reform, we cannot make things better if we're uncomfortable having tough conversations,
Absolutely.
if we're uncomfortable talking about race.
What's Next carries forward our mission to engage in meaningful conversations about race, equity, and the shared concerns that deeply affect Buffalo's East Side and beyond.
Don't stop. Make those families part of your life. Their lives are part of yours. Don't stop.
Together, we dive into the real issues, striving for understanding, connection, and change.
In the suburban area, everywhere, we must work and teach our children.
Hello and welcome to What's Next on Buffalo Toronto Public Media. I am your host, Jillian Hanesworth, and I'm really excited about the show that we have today. Today we are joined by a very spectacular woman who's very important to our community. We're joined by Miss Geraldine Pointer. Miss Geraldine is a mother, a grandmother, like I said, a pillar in our community. She's truly a part of the foundation that educated and pushed the Black Power movement here in Buffalo in the 60s. Most notably, she was arrested in 1967 along with Martin Sostre and accused of selling drugs and weapons out of a store that she owned at the time. We're also joined by her son, Terrance Pointer. Terrance was 6 when his mother was arrested. He is a survivor of trauma inflicted by a system that was not designed to protect his mother. And we're also, last but definitely not least, joined by James Coughlin, who is an employee at Burning Books and the lead organizer for the Justice for Geraldine and Martin Campaign. And James is also a historian who focuses on the segregation in Buffalo and the impacts it has on our community. Welcome, all 3 of you. I'm really excited to have you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so Ms. Geraldine, I want to jump in. A lot of our listeners may have never heard of you or heard your story before. So first, introduce yourself. What do you want people to know about you?
Well, my name is Geraldine Pointer. When I got arrested in 1967, I was Geraldine Robinson. Geraldine Pointer is my maiden name, and I used that Geraldine Pointer because I didn't want my children harassed by some of the neighbors knowing that their mother had got arrested and they didn't know why I got arrested.
So tell us about your life prior to the arrest. What were you doing in Buffalo?
Prior to my arrest, I was working at the bookstore for Martin Sostre. I worked at the one that was in the Fruit Belt. And I got to know a lot of the neighbors in the Fruit Belt, and they enjoyed coming to the store buying music. And they went to the store on Jefferson where they bought books about Black history or Black art or different things that Martin sold in the bookstore on Jefferson.
I've gotten a chance to talk to people who experienced that bookstore, and they always talk about the fact that they could come in, even if they couldn't buy the book, they could sit down in the bookstore and just get educated. How does it feel to know that you were a part of that? Like, that's big.
It makes me feel really good knowing that I was a part of that. And my children, they can even look back, the ones that were old enough to remember that things that happened in Buffalo back then.
Mm-hmm. So in addition to the bookstore, did you do anything else, or was that like your baby?
That was like our baby.
Yeah. And can you tell us about Martin Sostre? Some of our listeners may have never even heard of Martin Sostre.
Well, you know what? He was a self-taught man, and he was a leader, and people looked up to him because of the things that he believed in. He believed in doing things for the community, waking up the Black community of what was going on there.
Yeah, and what was going on?
Like back then when the riots and things were going on and different things that happened in the Black neighborhood that people didn't know about. Martin was letting the people feel free to speak their mind about what was going on in the Black community back then.
Yeah. So not only were you educating Black people, you were also in a way mobilizing them to actually start to do things to make our community work for us.
Exactly.
So if that's what you were doing, how did that work and that mission and that community-facing work lead to you being arrested and charged with selling
You know what? They didn't like the things that we were doing because he sold Black literature, Black history books, and they didn't want the Black community to know the things that were going on because the Black people were allowed to come into the bookstore, read the books, even if they didn't have money to pay for them, and that was all right with Martin. He was willing to share the knowledge without charging for it.
Yeah. And you know, when I think about that, I think about like the book bans happening right now. Like the effort to erase our history, to erase our education to make sure that we are blind and uninformed has never stopped since.
Right.
Like, it's
they still don't want you to know what used to go on back in the day.
Yeah. And that's, a lot of people in Buffalo don't understand the history behind what has happened in Buffalo. So, James, I'm going to jump to you really fast just for added context. Can you help our listeners understand how Buffalo was laid out, the communities, the segregation back in the 60s and the race riots and white flight?
Yeah, absolutely. So the 60s are kind of like the end of this like longer term process of black families migrating from down south to cities like Buffalo, but also encountering different forms of like discrimination and segregation, such as with like redlining policies where the federal government wouldn't provide any backed mortgages for folks in redline areas, which were in like the Ellicott area or the Maston, Cold Springs, so on and so forth. And in a lot of these neighborhoods too, they were initially like ethnically like German or Italian, and following World War II, as like you have more houses being built like around the suburbs, you have realtors and, like I said, the federal government incentivizing this process of white flight, and also realtors using ideas of race that white families have into this practice called blockbusting, where they would say, oh, your street is going to be turning over demographically, so you better sell your home while the market's hot, and we have this nice new home for you out in like Tonawanda or Amherst or Cheektowaga, whereas black families that are moving into Buffalo are given older housing that's turned into renting, housing that also gets destroyed by like urban renewal, such as with like the construction of the 33, or there's even an urban renewal plan in the Ellicott district right over here by downtown that happens even before the 33 gets constructed. So it's kind of the culmination in the 60s of that kind of decades-long process.
Yeah, so that process is happening at the same time you are creating a safe space for black people, brown people to come and understand what's happening, understand how we got to where we were historically, and mobilize. Grassroots efforts were birthed out of your store. So when you say they didn't like that you were educating black youth and black people and keeping them informed, who is they?
I say the Buffalo police, the politicians, some of the ministers here in Buffalo, because I remember one politician specifically when I got arrested, and I just found this out not too long ago. My son was telling me the street we lived on, there was a politician that lived there. He was asking him, could he help his mother get out of jail or even help any kind of way. And he told me the look on his face, he knew that he wasn't going to help. And matter of fact, they didn't want to even be a part of that when I got arrested.
And while you were running the store and empowering youth, were there any signs that they didn't like what you were doing? Were there any threats, any like over policing of that area? Like,
you know what? Not until after the riot, I'd never noticed anything like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, when all this happened, it happened like all of a sudden. And when they come busting in the store, I thought somebody was busting in there to rob us. I didn't know who they were, and I didn't even know what I was getting arrested for until I got out. I didn't even know the charges that they had put against me when I was arrested.
And I want to talk about that day, if that's okay. Mm-hmm. So first, Terrance, you spent time at this store. You were a part of this community, even as a small child. So can you explain from your perspective what kind of place the store was and what it was doing for our community?
Well, excuse me. The store was like, for a 6-year-old or 7-year-old, the store was like Wonderland.
Yeah.
You can go in the store and just listen to the newest records that come out. You know, you can. It's like your wildest dreams. You can go there and just escape. New
Safe
records,
haven.
you can hear.
Safe
I
haven.
mean, you can hear records on the radio, but when you come into the store, you have the brand new records. You can put it on there. You can play it and listen to it and play it again. You know, and just to be able to walk around the store and see different people every day, and every time you meet a new person, you learn something. So every day when they come in the store, I'm learning new stuff every day. I get to know people. I get to see their faces. You know what I'm saying? It's just like they took that away.
Yeah.
They took that away. You know, it's just like, you know, it took everything from me at that time when I was really motivated to really become or do something. After that point right there, I was crushed as a 6-year-old, 7-year-old. My brothers too, because our mother was gone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the store at the time we were there was the best place in the world. Another good place was the library on Jefferson and Utica. We used to go in the library on Jefferson and Utica, go in the basement and watch movies. The library was like the
Safe haven.
the best place, you know. You just had certain places you can go to. And like I said, it was enlightening you. It wasn't harming anybody. But I guess, you know, when you see people that fear you becoming educated or when they fear your opinion, why would they want to help you?
Right.
Why would I help you succeed in becoming you?
Right. And
So-
realizing how great you are and everything you deserve.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you
So-
have siblings.
Yes.
4 siblings.
I have I had two, an older brother and a younger brother. They passed away now. And I have 2 sisters. I have a younger brother that was not born at the time.
Okay.
But
Okay. So
all-
were you there you were there the day that your mother was arrested?
Not at the store, no.
Okay, you weren't at the store. Okay.
But the day my mother got arrested, we were my grandmother,
Okay.
and we didn't know anything about it. You know, it was just like a dream. You would
A nightmare.
wake up and you know, it's not a dream.
Yeah. At what point or what age did you realize what was actually happening?
Well,
Like, I imagine it happened pretty quickly where you kind of
Yeah.
had to grow up and understand.
what if the time when it really, really hit me hard was the first day when I had to sleep in a stranger's house. There was our foster parents. That's when it really hit me like, this is going to be forever.
Wow.
This
Were
is
you-
going to be forever.
Were you in a foster home with your siblings?
Just me and my older brother.
Wow. And you thought that was just it?
That
That's
was
what
it.
life was
This
now.
is going to be
Forever.
forever. It was just like coming from the sunshine and going into the darkness. You was just, it was over.
Yeah.
No motivation. I mean, no motivation.
Right. I mean, I get it. The system took something from you that can't be replaced, which
Exactly.
is time with your mom. Like,
Exactly.
that's... Okay, so on the day you were arrested,
The night I was arrested.
the night you were arrested, what was going through your mind? Like, I know you said you thought someone was coming in, robbing you, but once you realized what was happening, like, how are you processing that?
Like I said, it was really hard to process because when they rushed in on us, like I said, I thought we were being robbed. And like I said, when we realized they were police officers was later. And like I said, all the police officers and detectives that was there, wasn't one black one, not one.
Did they have on uniforms or were they in
No,
plain
they
clothes?
were in plain clothes. That's why I thought we were getting robbed.
Wow. Wow.
There wasn't a black person among them that came to, when they arrested us. They were all white.
Yeah. So they came, arrested you, they took you to the holding center?
Yes.
And then how long were you, like, in the holding center?
You know what? I don't remember exactly, but I know I did get bailed out, and my mother or my family didn't come to bail me out, and that hurt. Strangers came and helped me.
Mm.
They put money or property up and got me out of jail.
Were they
And,
people who had experienced
I guess so. They were. There was Martin's Defense Committee, and it was Jeanette Merrill. I remember her. Me and her became friends, and she was one of the ones that helped get me out of jail. Her and I remember Jerry Gross, Bob McCubbin, a lot of them I remember, and they helped get me out of jail. They raised money and did different things to help to get me out of jail, and I appreciate it today.
Yeah. And Martin Sostre, he had a defense attorney, so he already had like a previous record or encounters with the police?
Yes, but after all this happened, he defended himself.
Yeah.
He acted as his own attorney.
Wow. Yeah, I've heard so much about him. So did he have any suspicions that the space you were creating was at some point going to be a target?
Yeah, I don't know. He probably did.
Yeah, because
then, like I said, during the daytime, when he was at the store, different things probably happened. He never said anything to me about it. That's why I didn't know.
Right. Okay, so you were arrested. You spent some time in the holding center. Some people who believe in the work that you're doing and the mission bailed you out. What was next? What did life turn into for you?
Well, it was really hectic because, like I said, it was hard for me and my children because, like I said, some of our family members didn't believe what had happened to us wasn't true or whatever. And that made it hard for me and my children because they didn't believe that I got arrested for no reason.
Yeah. And what were the charges?
Selling drugs. And I remember when I went to court, the last time I went to court, when I got my sentence and they sent me to Albion, I remember 3.5 years or something like that. But before they said that, it was like 7.5 to 15. And like I said, when I heard that, I just blanked out. And all I thought about, when I get out, my children are going to be damn near grown.
Yeah.
I didn't even hear them say 3.5 or whatever. And that was the sentence that I did, was the 3. I guess the 7.5 to 15, I didn't do that time. I did 3, I think it was 3.5 or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said, all I thought about when I heard him say 7.5 to 15, I didn't hear nothing about the 3, so I thought I was going to jail for 15 years for something that I didn't do.
Mm-hmm.
And when you saw the charges, like, what went through your mind?
I couldn't even believe it. Me selling drugs or whatever else the charges was, that wasn't me, and I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable for somebody to accuse somebody of doing some horrendous things that they had on that paper.
Yeah. Did you have your own defense team, or did you have a public
defender? I had
defender?
a lawyer. I can't remember his name about now, but I did have a lawyer because I wasn't good enough to defend myself like Martin was.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just wondering, because James, you know the charges they were involved, don't you?
Yeah, well, I don't know specifically for Miss Geraldine, but also for Martin, claiming that he had essentially been the facilitator, instigator of the uprising that had happened a few weeks ago, claiming that Molotov cocktails were being made in the basement. And to one of Miss Geraldine's points as well, Sostre also said that he opened the bookstore in '65, the Afro-Asian bookshop on Jefferson, and that he had been previously visited by law enforcement, or just like asking, what are you, selling this literature for? And I think also it's kind of like the Cold War as well, so that context. And he would always affirm, I have a constitutional right to sell whatever I want. I'm the proprietor of the store.
Right. Wow. So you spent 3.5 years?
I spent 2 years and 19 days in jail.
2 years and 19 days in jail. What was that like? Like, what is it like to be, and I know this is probably such a huge question, what is it like to be in jail and wake up every day behind those walls knowing that you do not deserve to be there? Like, knowing.
It was really hard, and like I said, it was hard because there was nothing I could do about it. certain time you got to get up in the morning when somebody tell you to. You got to go to bed when somebody tell you to. You got to go eat when somebody tell you to. If you don't, you won't eat unless you have your own commissary.
Yeah. And were you sentenced through a trial, or did they have you take a plea deal?
No, I had a trial.
Okay.
And like
talk
I said,
about
with
your
the trial,
jury. What was the trial like?
It was just like when I got arrested. Wasn't a black face in the bunch.
Wow.
Wasn't a black face in the bunch, and that included the judge, all the police, the jury, and like I said, after all these years, I still remember one of the jury's name. I remember June Hines, and she was a blonde, blue-eyed, like you see on the commercials on TV back in the day when they were showing off one of these cars with these high heels on. She was that type of white person that didn't look nothing like me.
Yeah. And how did that feel, being tried in front of a jury and none of them are your peers? Did you have hope?
It was disheartening because they didn't know nothing about me. They didn't live in the neighborhood I went to. Mm-hmm. They didn't go to the church I went to. They didn't know nothing about me or mine.
Yeah.
A bunch of strangers going to figure out what my life is going to be when they came back with that guilty charge against me.
Do you remember how long the trial lasted?
No, I don't remember how long it lasted, but it seemed like it was forever.
Yeah. And were you incarcerated during the trial, or were you
No,
home?
I was out on bail.
Okay, you were out on bail.
Mm-hmm.
Were you able to see your kids and
when I was out on bail, I had my children.
Life?
When I was out on bail, I had my children. And when I went to jail, my children wound up with my mother. And that wasn't that pleasant for them being with my mother because she wasn't that nice to them.
Yeah.
My children caught hell.
Yeah. So everybody paid.
Yes.
When nothing was done.
Yes, everybody paid, and that includes my children.
Yeah.
You know, my oldest daughter, she was old enough to start school when we got arrested. And my mother had to send her to school, so I guess my mother said she'd make it easier on herself. She cut off my daughter's hair so she wouldn't have to braid it.
Wow.
She cut off her hair so she wouldn't have to braid it.
So everyone's lives were uprooted. All this trauma happened, and here you are today fighting for your name.
Exactly. I want to be exonerated. I want to feel like I'm free for real.
Yeah. That's powerful. Because you still don't feel like you're outside, you're walking around, but you still feel like a prisoner of that piece of paper, of those charges.
Exactly.
Yeah. What is exoneration, Terrance, what would exoneration mean for the rest of the family?
Well,
okay.
I mean, I know she didn't do it. I mean, that's my mother.
Yeah.
She's strong. But in the eyes of everybody else that thought she was guilty, it's just something just looking, just show them, more or less, like, see, it's not going to change anything that happened to her back then, but it just far as making her feel like whole again, yeah, she deserves it. And for the people who are resisting it, I said before, why?
Yeah.
Why? Who's resisting it? If you know the facts now, what is keeping you from really just saying, this is it, let's do this? Why would you have a person suffer for mistakes that you've seen happen? I didn't want to say you caused them, but if you've seen them happen, correct them. So why?
Yeah.
Huh? That's I keep saying, I think I said it last time, didn't I? I said why?
Yeah.
Why? When is it going to stop?
Right.
Who caused it? We talked about that before. Remember, who caused it? Just find out. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
It has happened before. They're talking about now. We was on the things up in Rochester.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We talked about the lynch. Remember we talked about her?
Mm-hmm.
There was just so much stuff that's going on at one point.
And that's what the Buffalo 5 you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. So we're gonna jump to a quick break, and then when we come back, I really want to talk a bit about the facts and what you do know and what could have been the exonerating factors of this case. To our listeners, thank you. Stay with us. We will be right back. This is Jillian Hanesworth, and this is What's Next on Buffalo Toronto Public Media.
Buffalo Toronto Public Media produced a short documentary on creative restorations, which delivers life-saving supplies to combat overdose in Western New York.
Because we're a new agency, what happens sometimes is, a lot of grant funders, they are hesitant to fund you. So we were on the fence with getting the grant before I sent them the video. It was able to show the grant funder what exactly their money was going to go towards. With that grant, that allowed us to secure a home base. Now we have a location where we do community meals, where we provide services right then and there. So I think the importance is you guys were able to really put boots on the ground with us, really show the city in a lens that you don't commonly see. So I think it helps to raise awareness to some of the issues that we have in our city, but also what else left do we have to do as a community to better our community. Please, if you can, fund public media, make sure that they're available because they really put a harder focus on the community. And it really gives a better view of what we really need to get done here.
Contact Congress now at protectmypublicmedia.org.
Local voices, local stories. That's what WBFO brings to Western New York. Help keep it going. Sign up for updates about threats to federal funding at protectmypublicmedia.org. You can help safeguard the future of Buffalo Toronto Public Media.
Public media connects us across generations, communities, and borders. Discover Buffalo Toronto Public Media programs that educate, entertain, and inspire. Explore more at WNED.org.
Celebrate the 50th anniversary season of Austin City Limits. Don't miss remarkable performances from Gary Clark Jr., Black Pumas, Brittany Howard, and more. Watch every Monday at 10 p.m. on WNED PBS.
You're listening to What's Next, our place to discuss the important issues of our communities of Western New York and Southern Ontario. We want to hear from you. Click on the Talk to Us option in the BTPM Listen app, and we will work to get your questions or comments on the air. Do you have a story or concern that we should be addressing? Email us using whatsnext@btpm.org. Together, we'll have the conversations that are needed. This is Buffalo Toronto Public Media, NPR.
This is What's Next on Buffalo Toronto Public Media. I'm your host, Jillian Hanesworth, and we're joined today by Miss Geraldine Pointer, Terrance Pointer, and James Coughlin. So before break, we were talking about the factors of the trial, the factors of the case that could have ended the case, closed the case when it happened, or things that have come out since that could have already exonerated Miss Pointer. So are there any specific breaks in the case that you remember that were significant enough to say, like, why are we even still going through this?
I don't think so. But some of the things that I remember when I hadn't even got out on bail yet. We was trying to get bail, and it was two black bail bondsmen here in Buffalo at the time. One of them we went to first. He didn't want to bail me out unless I slept with him.
Oh.
And so we never got him. But Jeanette, the defense committee, got somebody else to bail me out. I don't know if it was the other black bondsman or not, but I remember that specifically. He wanted me to sleep with him if he got me out on bail.
Wow. Did anybody testify for or against you during the trial?
You know what? I really don't remember, but I do remember Otto Williams saying that he was the one that bought the drugs for Martin, and in later years, he recanted his testimony and said that the police put him up to saying that so he can get a lighter sentence because he was already in jail when they made that deal with him.
So he publicly recanted his statement?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And the case wasn't reopened?
No.
Wow. That's like a smoking gun, right? Like, the person who bought the drugs that you were accused of selling said, hey, this didn't actually happen.
Exactly,
I was just trying to look out for myself. So
exactly.
I lied. Wow. So what next? I know you're trying to get exonerated. James, can you tell us a little bit about what led you to joining in on this and what you've done so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So we started our efforts back in July of last year, and we had a kickoff event at Burning Books on the anniversary of the frame up. And I think things have just really grown very organically and grassroots, because after that, like, folks wanted to have like another event just like to educate the community as to what happened. So following that, we had another like presentation and teaching at the Merriweather. Then we had also a couple other events at 1412 Jefferson Ave, which is the site of the former Afro-Asian bookshop, but it's now a city-owned vacant lot that's been left unused for decades.
And it's really close to Tops on Jefferson. It's
Exactly.
close to the Merriweather Library, Jefferson and Utica. So it's an important part of the history of our city.
Absolutely. And part of this is also we had a birthday celebration for Miss Geraldine last November, to ensure that we're honoring her and giving her the flowers that she deserves. And we also, coming up in the near future, on April 26th, we're going to be installing raised square-foot garden beds at 1412 Jefferson, a free little library and a community bulletin board where anyone can put information about community events. And Martin himself had a bulletin board there on the corner of Jefferson and Woodlawn, and also a Freedom School program as well, where my colleague, Dr. Tiana Wilson, and I have secured grant funding to teach 20 participants 6 Saturdays of the summer about different issues impacting Buffalo, such as housing segregation, environmental racism, food apartheid, and mass incarceration. So not only is it exoneration, but it's also asking, what does justice mean? Is it just merely the exoneration, or is it a broader reclaiming of the space and continuing Miss Geraldine and Martin Sostre's work?
Yeah, so not just justice, but like restoration.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Miss Geraldine, are you a Scorpio?
Yes.
See, I knew I liked you. Me too. I knew it. I felt the energy. So in the fight to get Miss Geraldine exonerated, what are you doing? Who are you talking to? Like, who has the power to make this happen?
So the power would be through the Erie County District Attorney's Office. So we last month on March 20th, which is also Martin Sostre's birthday, we had a rally at Niagara Square, where our initial thought was that we were going to present a petition of over 800 signatures we've collected to the DA's office, because they were just pretty much dragging their feet with this and not giving any response. And as we're organizing for this, I sent an open letter inviting him to it, and the DA, Michael Keene, then filed a motion through Erie County Court trying to appoint a special prosecutor, move the case to Chautauqua County, claiming that he has a close family relative that was involved in the initial investigation in 1967, but didn't really specify who that is. So we filed a motion to try to appeal it. So it's going to be heard, I believe, sometime in June by the 4th Appellate Division of the New York State Supreme Court.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about that last time. We were talking about, well, if it was a family member involved in 1967, is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
That's what he's saying? I mean, what in the heck did he do?
Like,
what
how,
did he do?
Like, how was he involved? What was his role?
Yeah, if that was in 67, this is 2025. What did he do then? Because if it was recanted that she didn't do this and he didn't do that, and what did he do then?
Right.
Yeah, so you're just saying you want him to look at the facts and make the obvious decision.
So when they say they want to move it from Erie County to Chautauqua County, just think about this. Back in 1967, Martin and Geraldine, they wanted to keep it. And they wanted to move it to Chautauqua County, believe it or not. They wanted to.
They did?
Back then, they wanted to.
Why?
To get a fair trial.
Okay.
At that time. Okay, so now, Erie County's saying what they were saying back in 67, we don't want to do it here in Erie County. Let's take it to Chautauqua County. So I'm like this, apply the same pressure they applied back then when they requested to move it. They told my mother, what? No.
Yeah.
So let's do the same thing to them. No, let's resolve it here, because evidently something happened here that they don't want us to find out about. And that's going to create another cover-up. I mean, as long as you keep saying move, 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 I mean, it's like playing a shell game. I mean, there's nothing under any one of them. They're just playing a shell game. Open everybody's eyes up, bring out the paperwork, and let's see what's going on in Erie County. Because it has happened, it will happen, and let's find out.
Do you feel like seeing Erie County right here at home, seeing them open the Pandora's box to this case and what led up to it will be part of the healing process? Like, do you think that will help you and the community and the family knowing that it's being handled here?
I mean, listen here. If you're trying to hide something, I would throw it in the garbage. Not doing it here is like throwing it in the garbage. Mm-hmm. Chautauqua County didn't arrest her.
Yeah.
Chautauqua County didn't investigate this. The money was used back then to investigate this was used by Erie County. Erie County used that money to investigate my mother. Let's settle this in Erie County. Chautauqua County didn't put any money in it. Why would you want to go there? To cover something up? If your family member was involved back then, what did they do?
Yeah.
What are you afraid of? She suffered.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she suffered back then. She can't do nothing to her now. So who is it protecting now if she suffered then? It's not protecting her now. It must be protecting someone who did something back then.
Yeah.
Let's find out who did it, because I'm not afraid.
Right.
They are.
Yep. So after, Miss Geraldine, after spending time in prison and coming back home, when you came back home, what was life like? Was the bookstore still there?
No, it wasn't.
No.
Like I said, even before I came home, I remember when I went to board, and I went to board about 3 or 4 different times. Every time I went to board, they would always ask me, was I ready to tell the truth? And like I said, when you go to board, they give you a certain amount of months or days before they let you come home. The last time I went to board, pardon?
What's board?
They determine whether you're coming home on parole or not.
Okay.
It might be about 10 or 12 people in this room on this long table, and there's one chair where you're supposed to sit, and they sitting all around you asking you questions. I remember the last time I went to board, matter of fact, even before I went to board, the girls that were in prison, when they had to go to board, they would always dress up whatever little outfit they had. The dresses they had, they would iron them with pleats in them, like they do in prison. I worked in the beauty parlor, so I would do a lot of them's hair. I remember this last time I went to board, it was maybe about a week before I went to board. I didn't brush my teeth. I didn't comb my hair. I didn't take a bath. And I made sure I wore dirty clothes to the board. I walked in the boardroom, and they were shocked to see me the way I looked. And when you walk in the boardroom, you got to stand there in front of the table with all these people standing there looking at you. And you got to stand there and until they tell you to sit down. I walks in, I sits down right in front of them, and I guess they must have looked at me like I was crazy. But you know what? I didn't even care then, because I had stayed there more than 2 years, and the sentence I got was just 3. So I said, you know what? The little time I have left, it don't make whether I do it here or there. And like I said, I don't even remember. They didn't ask me was I ready to tell the truth then. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, before that week was out, I was at home.
Wow.
I was at home because they said I didn't care anymore what they said, because I didn't have but a few more months and I'd have been free.
Right. So you said when you got home, the store wasn't open anymore. What happened?
When I went home, it didn't exist anymore.
What do you mean?
It wasn't there anymore.
Like the building?
The building was there. It wasn't like the vacant lot it is now.
Okay.
The building, all that was probably still there, but the store was gone.
Wow.
And the one on the Fruit Belt, it was closed down too, because the one in the Fruit Belt, that's the one I worked at.
Yeah, I used to like going there.
So who made the decision to close the stores down?
After we got arrested, that was it.
Wow, yeah.
That was the decision.
Yeah. And Mr. Sostre was also in prison at the same time?
Yes.
Wow. Did he serve the same amount of time or more?
Oh, he served more time.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he was sentenced 31 to 41 years and granted clemency after 9, which is even more so the reason why exoneration should happen. I mean, you know, the New York State governor, Hugh Carey, at the time, like, was pressured into admitting that, you know, this grave injustice had happened. So I don't see necessarily what other conflict there could be. And I think it's, you know, one of the things we also, like, talked about, and I know you mentioned the tops on Jefferson, like, it seems as if, you know, the DA's office was, like, all itching to get at the front pages when it came to prosecuting a insidious white supremacist, but when it comes to actually correcting the injustices that they've contributed to, whether it be Miss Geraldine or systematically through the years, they, you know, want to wipe their hands clean of it all.
Yeah, and that ain't right. I like you. We got to talk about it. We have to talk about it.
Hey, Fred alumni, right, man?
Yeah. Shout out to Fred.
And we know how Chautauqua County is, so we don't. That's why, first-hand experience.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know we have a little bit more time. We're gonna jump to a break, but I just want to say, like, the fight that you have to get home and keep fighting, like, that is inspiring, and that's why a lot of young organizers, people who have sat on the same couch you're sitting on right now to talk about our community and what we need, that's why we can do what we do. So I just want to say, like, thank you for educating the people who educated us. We're going to jump to a quick break. We will be right back with Miss Geraldine Pointer on What's Next on Buffalo Toronto Public Media.
This is Jack Cruiser with the scoreboard on WBFO. Listen during Morning Edition and All Things Considered each Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the latest on pro matchups and college rivalries, as well as standout local athletes from Western New York and Southern Ontario. Want more? Listen to a longer version of the scoreboard at WBFO.org or wherever you get your podcasts.
Our mission at Buffalo Toronto Public Media is to serve our local community. And on WBFO, we do that by keeping you informed. We bring you important perspectives from your neighbors on what's next.
It's cultural heritage tourism. People go and they travel different places to learn about history and lived experiences that only took place in that area. Oftentimes you may have people in certain positions that don't understand the value of cultural heritage tourism.
And we investigate issues in our community, such as racial disparities in traffic stops.
The data breakdown by council district shows that black people are stopped disproportionately to their population in all 9 districts. Lovejoy District leads the pack in terms of those disproportionate stops. Just 37% of the district's population is black, yet black motorists account for almost 70% of stop receipts issued there.
This is public media.
Your voice matters. Sign up to receive updates on threats to federal funding for public media at protectmypublicmedia.org. You can help safeguard the future of Buffalo Toronto Public Media. Thank you.
Public media is your gateway to discovery. From investigative journalism on Frontline to live local performances on WNED Classical and tiny stage sessions from WBFO The Bridge, Buffalo Toronto Public Media connects you to the stories, music, and moments that matter most. Explore what we have to offer at WNED.org. This is public media.
You're listening to What's Next, our place to discuss the important issues of our communities of Western New York and Southern Ontario. We want to hear from you. Click on the Talk to Us option in the BTPM Listen app, and we will work to get your questions or comments on the air. Do you have a story or concern that we should be addressing? Email us using whatsnext@btpm.org. Together, we'll have the conversations that are needed. This is Buffalo Toronto Public Media, NPR.
We're back on What's Next on Buffalo Toronto Public Media. We're joined by Geraldine Pointer, Terrance Pointer, and James Coughlin. So we're talking about the case and the fight to be exonerated. I really want our listeners to really understand like what being exonerated means, not only for you but for our entire community. Can we go over one more time the demands that is coming from the campaign, and let's talk about the potential impacts of this exoneration on our community?
Yeah, absolutely. So exoneration would wipe Miss Geraldine's record clean, as well as absolve Martin Sostre of these charges. I don't want to speak with any certainty because I'm not an attorney, but believe it would also permit for any potential like civil action due to the county's wrongdoing. But it's also one, the broader push of making sure folks know this history that we honor Miss Geraldine and Martin Sostre by reclaiming the site of the former Afro-Asian bookshop, stewarding it for community use. We're also trying to ensure that we have funding for a mural dedicated to Miss Geraldine and Martin as well, to complement like the Freedom Wall and some of the other great public art that's emerged. And I think overall it's looking at like what is it that reparations could mean, and how can that be applied to a local community and a neighborhood context as well, whether that be through the exoneration, through reclaiming the land, and what is it that would mean for justice for this family and also folks in the community that were denied this important educational institution. It wasn't just a bookstore, it was a community space, as we heard earlier.
Yeah. And Terrance, what about for you? What does exoneration, from witnessing your mother go through this as a 6-year-old child to today still fighting alongside your mom to clear her name, what would exoneration mean for you?
Just to see her. I mean, she's beautiful. Just to see her feel it from other people, because when you don't feel it, because you get vibes from people. So when you're around those people, you don't really feel it. You felt a little bit when an individual came back and said, "Yo, I didn't do that. I didn't buy that from them. They didn't sell it to me." That made her feel good, because now you're like, "See, I told you guys that we didn't do this. This didn't happen." So exoneration now be like, now everybody can see it. Mm-hmm. It didn't happen.
Not the way they said it did.
That's what it means. I mean, that's how I look at it. Just open their eyes. Let everybody see it. That's what it means to me. Let everybody see it.
Yeah. And Ms. Geraldine, what about for you? What would getting a letter or seeing a press conference on the news, what would that moment feel like for you? What would that mean to you?
If all of that happened, it would make me feel really good, because like I say, even the family members, the ones that didn't believe me, look at me now. Yeah. See what's going on now. Yeah. Where it's been brought out in the public that all the things that they did weren't true at all. Mm-hmm. It weren't true at all. I was telling the truth then, and I'm telling the truth now. Just like when I went to board and they want to know, am I ready to tell the truth? I was telling the truth all the time.
Yeah. And are you carrying the label of a felony record right now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did that impact you a lot when you came back home trying to rebuild your life?
Yes, because certain jobs, if you got a felony, you can't get a job.
Yeah.
In certain places. And I raised my children on the money I got from my husband for child support. Mm-hmm. And I did hair back then, so that supplemented me to help me take care of my children.
Yeah. So not only are you getting back your name, you are getting public acknowledgement that they were wrong for taking your kids from you.
Exactly.
That they were wrong for making it hard to find a job.
They were wrong for sending me to jail for something that I didn't do.
Yeah. Yeah. James, for listeners who might have heard this story today for the first time and they're like, that's not right. Mm-hmm. I'm not standing for that type of system because as the people, we are empowered enough to decide how our system functions. What can they do? How can they get involved?
So you can follow us on Instagram at Justice for Geraldine and Martin. We also have, excuse me, a link tree as well. It has a published campaign statement of purpose that outlines the history as well as the different initiatives we're working on. Although we don't know the date yet, we're trying to get folks organized to join us in Rochester when the motion will be heard to whether or not it's going to be brought back to Erie County. But in the interim, we're having an event on April 26th where we're installing raised beds gardens at 1412 Jefferson, Free Little Library, Community Bulletin Board. We're having on May 9th, Garrett Felber, who's writing a biography of Martin Sostre, is going to be in town, as well as the following day, May 10th, Orasami Burton, who's written on the Attica Revolt and Sostre's influence on that, will be in town. And then also in late June, on June 28th, we're launching a 6-week program, the Geraldine Pointer and Martin Sostre Freedom School, where we're seeking to recruit folks ages 16 to 24. We have stipends to pay participants, and we're going to teach about different issues specifically impacting Buffalo, and such as mass incarceration, food apartheid, environmental racism, housing segregation, and hope that can be something that's longer term and sustainable. And I think no better way to show our respect and admiration for Miss Geraldine and Sostre by continuing their work of educating the community. And for anyone who's interested in signing up or even contributing in any way, how can they get in touch with you? Yeah, so please, you can send me an email, coug7044@gmail.com. And also we're getting a lot of support through my employer, Burning Books, as well. So you can even, contact the store, as well as far as with what's going on with the campaign, or just to get in touch with us. We also have Martin Sostre's writings as well at the store, so you want to learn about this specific history, as well as who Martin and Miss Geraldine were. And I think just at the end of the day, we're all doing this because we love Miss Geraldine, her family, and the community. So it's just putting in the work to give back. It's not just merely standing around with a sign and a gathering, although that's important. It's also putting in the work to repair the harms that have been done. Yeah. Every time I am privileged enough to host this show, I always like to ask my guests this question. We know that a lot of the injustices that you were forced to survive are still prevalent in our communities today. A lot of these fights are ongoing. So as someone who not only lived through the Black Power movement here in Buffalo, but also became a victim of the system that is supposed to be protecting and serving you, what would you say to listeners who are not awake yet to what our system is looking like? How would you call them to action?
I would tell them, don't be afraid to speak up, because they have a voice. And that voice they have, they need to use it for the right of the community, to wake up other people that are asleep.
Yeah, just like you did. Just like you're doing now.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, all of you, for being here. It was such a privilege to get this time with you, Miss Geraldine. Thank you to our listeners. Please get involved if you are interested. And until next time, this is What's Next on Buffalo Toronto Public Media, and I am your host, Jillian Hanesworth.